Dudes Who Bet Sports.
It is a new week and it is a special day. Wednesday instead of Thursday this week for Dudes Who Bet Sports. We are live, and we are live because there's college football playoff games tomorrow, so we got to get this done today. Papa Dude, are you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it. 5 straight days of playoffs, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
It's going to be, yes, that is correct, and it is going to be pretty awesome. I think even if you're not a fan of any of these teams, which we are a fan of some, not so much others, I think that it should be entertaining. I don't really see a day that's going to just suck. So I think that's
shouldn't. I am not. I will say this: I'm not a fan of any of the college teams. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I don't care for any. Well, I
don't hate Penn State.
No, me neither. I don't like Notre Dame. I don't like Ohio State. And I don't like Texas. Yeah, so I guess I'm rooting for Penn State.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question.
Yeah.
I'm not. I would rank them, obviously, Texas number 1 on the hate list. Ohio State a close second.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is, I don't really care on them.
Yeah.
And Penn State, I certainly don't care. So
I think with Notre Dame, they haven't been good really, like to this level in so long that it's kind of that hatred just fades away a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. They're pretty good right now. So we'll kind of see what happens with that. But with that, let's just get right to it.
All right.
I'll put them up on the screen and we'll talk about Notre Dame. So that's the game tomorrow. That's why we're live today, because we didn't want to be live and then 3 hours the game's playing. So tomorrow, 6:30 Central Time, it's going to be Notre Dame and Penn State. And the betting lines have been pretty narrow for this from the start. Notre Dame -1.5 here. Total sits at 44.5. Who you got tomorrow night?
Yeah, this is the one that I have no idea. Do you? I mean, this is just, I think these are two teams that are identical.
Yeah, I was on, by the way, just a little bit of a plug here. VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio from 6 to 9 Central Time. That is the new time for Dustin and Patrick's show. And I was on their second ever show on the network there last night, and they wanted to talk about these games. And I said exactly what you just said. Yeah. We can talk about this game. I can talk about these two teams. Me giving the listeners or somebody to bet, I'm not sure. So I think this is a total just crapshoot.
It's a pure toss-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always say, well, penalties, turnovers, mistakes will decide a game. This is definitely, I think, what will happen here. It's who plays the cleanest game. I just don't see either team having an advantage over the other. I think they're both underrated. I really do. I think they're both solid teams. They're not flashy. They just go out and get the job done. And, Notre Dame, if you like Georgia, if you thought Georgia was good, which I didn't, and they just manhandled them. They didn't have any trouble with them. Of course, I know Georgia's backup quarterback was in there. And Penn State, I think, has had an easier run to this for sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to lean towards Penn State. I just am going to. I think it's their time. I don't know that they win the next week, but I just think they're going to do it. I think their quarterback might be just a tad better, and their overall team maybe as well.
So you and Ron are going to stick with Penn State. And by the way, Ron, I don't know what that is in your picture there. It looks beautiful, though. I've seen pictures of where you're living, and right now it does not look like that, but that is a beautiful picture.
It sure does.
Ron says balanced offense. You kind of mentioned it a little bit as well. Just a team in Penn State that they definitely have a quarterback who takes care of the ball. I still don't think he's like a fantastic quarterback, but he's proven to be solid this year, no doubt. And maybe that pushes them over the top. Here's why I'm going to go against you guys. And again, like I said at the top of this thing, there's no way I'll bet a penny on this game because I just don't know.
No.
It sounds weird to say after we've watched them play 15 games now. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure who Penn State is. I'm still not sure because their road to get there to this spot, I should say, in the playoff, SMU and Boise State.
That's right.
Where Notre Dame got Indiana, big break, no doubt.
Yeah.
Then they had to play Georgia, and I have a hard time thinking Penn State would have dominated Georgia like Notre Dame did. Now, maybe they would have. I just can't get there. I have the least amount of question marks about Notre Dame, and that's why I picked Notre Dame.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I do think both teams have. You're right. If you're gonna analyze the playoffs, Notre Dame's got the best win in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks. But then you look at the whole schedule through the regular season, and I really don't think Notre Dame played a very tough schedule.
No, they did not. Yeah.
But they won every game but one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just inexplicable why they are not 14-0, losing to Northern Illinois. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
When you think about where they are now. Remember when they lost that game, which was the second game of the year, everybody said the coach is going to get fired. He'll never survive this.
Yeah.
And what do? They run off 12 in a row, and here they are one game away from the national championship game. So he's done a really good job. The players love him. He's young. He's energetic. He seems like he's one of them, which I think is the way the coaching is going to go these days.
Feels that way. Yeah.
All the turmoil that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just am going to go with Penn State. I just think it's their time. I do like them, but again, I'm like you. You bet on this. It's a crapshoot. It's going to come down to who makes a critical mistake. I really think it is.
Yeah, I would agree with you on it. I think turnovers will end up playing the biggest part in the game. And I do think, the total sits at 44.5. It's a low total, but I think they're going under. I kind of feel like see if you agree with this, for Penn State to win, I feel like it needs to be under. What do you think?
Probably, yeah.
I guess both teams, though.
The styles the two teams play.
Yeah.
You're thinking 21-17, something in that. That's what you would think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Notre Dame, Georgia, it's 23-10.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking it's going to be fairly low scoring because these two teams are very physical. Their defenses are both good. And you'd think it's going to be that way. Sometimes we're wrong, but you would think that's what's going to happen. So,
yeah. I think people that have watched this in the past, or at least myself, some games I have a strong opinion on, and I could be wrong. Yeah. And in some games, I don't know. And this is just one of them. And I think the situation of Notre Dame's, like you said, the schedule has been really weak. Yes, Georgia was a great win, but they didn't really play anybody else because they're not in a conference. So they're always kind of weird to get a read on.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that's why I picked against them last week, and they made me look foolish. So I think that's the other side of it too. Just because you don't know who they are doesn't mean they're not really good, right? It just means you don't know. And that's why I'm going to back them this week, because I just feel like I have a better idea that they are really, really good. Yeah. Where Penn State, I think, is good. I just don't know to what level yet.
I think all of us have a tendency to look at teams that don't score a lot of points. Mm-hmm. It's not very good. We just kind of have, because offense is what we look at. It's what catches our eye. Flash. And these teams are not flashy. They're just a better version of Iowa. How about that? That's the way they play.
I mean, probably a little extreme, but that is the way they play.
Well, they play field position. They're conservative fairly much on offense.
Yeah.
They'll cut it loose every once in a while, but it's run game first, and they play great fundamental defense. They try not to make mistakes, and that's kind of the brand that Iowa plays. Only these teams, of course, are much more talented. So it's going to be I think it'll be an interesting game. I think it should be a good one.
And I think what Dennis brought up there is kind of the ability to stop the run of Penn State. And really Notre Dame can do that too. And you want to talk about the base of Iowa, Penn State, Notre Dame, those type of teams. That's what you think first. They'll stuff the run, they'll make you beat them through the air, that kind of game. And then the other factor that he brings up, more rest for Penn State. I don't think it's going to be a huge factor, but I do think there's a little something to that.
There might be, but I think at this point, I don't think. First of all, if you think these guys are having physical practices this late in the season, you are sadly mistaken. That is not happening.
No.
They're keeping these guys as fresh as they can.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's very little contact going on. First of all, you don't want to get somebody hurt at this stage. So
No.
practices are pretty much, they may be running them some, keep them in shape. But if you think these are physical practices, you're nuts. They're not. They don't want to get somebody hurt.
I would agree with
the
that.
rest part. They don't have class to worry about. They're out of school. It's basically football. That's all they got right now. So I don't think that's a big factor.
All right. The other game is going to be Friday, and it's going to be Ohio State and Texas. And Ohio State, a 5.5-point favorite. Now, they were up around 6.5 and even 6 a little bit earlier in the week. Look, I think everybody has seen the last 2 games from Ohio State and said, well, that's a team we thought we would see all year. Where have they been? Now they've shown up. Texas has kind of messed around with 2 teams. Maybe they should have beaten by more, especially the Arizona State game. Here's what's scary. I like Ohio State. Everybody likes Ohio State.
Yeah,
And that's when I get scared. What about you?
I'm the same way. I heard some people talking. Can they play 3 games in a row like these last 2?
I don't know.
I think and I don't know. To me, I think Ohio State just transformed themselves after that Michigan game. I think they had got bullied around by Michigan, and they heard this talk about they're not very physical, so they decided they're going to try to be like them. And then they found out Michigan beat them at their own game, and they went back to being Ohio State. Yeah. Throw the ball, open it up. And the thing that bothers me, and I'm with you, I'm taking them.
I'm too, yeah.
But is Will Howard that good?
Yeah.
He has been unbelievable for 2 weeks. And their receivers, how many competitive catches have they made in big situations with 2 or 3 guys around them? They go up and make an unbelievable catch. Been a bunch of them. And so can they keep doing this? I have to take them because my eyes tell me they're better than Texas. But I'm with you when everybody's on you. And Texas is pretty good. They're solid. Everybody's kind of wondering about the quarterback situation there. Mm-hmm. And they have struggled a little bit offensively. And they got pretty fortunate in who they had to play last week, and they could have easily lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take Ohio State. You just have to. But I'm scared to death.
All the logic is Ohio State. The way they've been playing recently is Ohio State. They do have one common opponent, and that is Michigan. And that's a big check mark towards Texas.
It is. I would not be surprised if Texas wins.
I wouldn't be either because
I hate them.
Look, I think if you are a sports bettor, and this is something the very first year we were really into it, we learned pretty quick. When it looked too good to be true, it usually was.
Yeah.
And when you compare the way these 2 teams have been playing,
5.5
doesn't seem like nearly enough for Ohio State.
No.
And I'm scared that this could be a situation where we look up and go, my goodness, what happened here? And also when all the money's on one side, I get really nervous.
I do too.
That's not good. But again, I cannot just go away from the fact that this Ohio State team has just looked elite the last 2 weeks.
They have.
And Texas, obviously they've done a great job to get to this point.
Oh, sure.
There's never really been a game you look at Texas and go, well, there are world beaters. They're a team that nobody can touch. And really, Ohio State's kind of the only one all year that's been able to do that in the
last 2 weeks. They have. Yeah. And they haven't beat slouches either.
Well, so the Tennessee game, I thought it would be a competitive game. I mean,
I did too.
I picked Tennessee.
I did too. Well,
it wasn't competitive.
No, they killed them.
The Oregon game was worse. And
they slaughtered them.
Undefeated Oregon, who beat them in the regular season on a neutral field. And by the time the Texas game was over and you kind of got settled into that Oregon game, you look up and it's like, Ohio State's ahead by 3 scores.
Oh, it was They slaughtered them.
Yeah.
They dominated them.
Yep.
And that's a good team.
Yep.
And they just killed them. And Tennessee was good too. And the
Mhm.
thing is, you're looking at Tennessee and their defense, which controlled almost everybody all year long, and they didn't have a prayer against them. They couldn't slow them down at all.
No. Mm-mm.
And so if they play like they played the last 2 weeks, the line is, it's too small. But I don't know if they can do it. It's very difficult to play that way. And we've seen Will Howard forever. He was in the Big 12. We know what he is. He was terrible against Michigan. And I've seen him play pretty bad against other teams.
Yeah.
And now this guy looks like a number one draft choice the way he's played the last couple of weeks. So we'll see.
One key here, and I think Ron hits it on the head, and you can tell he's an Ohio State fan because he knows this little intricate matchup that's going to probably be the key. The Texas defensive line probably mimics Michigan's front more than it does the two teams they played. So will that be – I have faith that Ohio State is going to play better on the offensive line than they did in the Michigan game. Like I think, yes, Michigan will give you trouble up front, but I think Ohio State just didn't play well and they didn't, like you said, they kind of tried to be a bully when they just throw over the top of them. Probably would have worked. But I do think that's going to be the big key because you cannot argue the Texas defensive line and really Texas front seven, I'll say. Yeah. It's elite. It's really
the strength of the Texas teams, their defense.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this is going to be another, like you say, I don't think I can take Ohio State. I just don't. And the points. That's logic says they're going to beat them worse than that. But logic doesn't always run in these things. And again, what if Ohio State turns the ball over early? When you played two perfect games in a row, aren't you due to play have a little bit of a, and again, when you're favored like that, I would rather be in Texas's position any day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of it for us too is we don't want Texas to win. So we're kind of,
obviously,
hey, what's the worst thing that could happen here? So,
you're right. Absolutely. I don't want them to win.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Back in 2005, when they won the national championship and then they competed for it, I think in 08 or 09.
Yeah.
And we were rooting so hard against them. The difference was between those 2 years, we were good. Mm-hmm. OU was good. Mm-hmm. We're not now. So I don't even know why an Oklahoma fan is even worried about Texas because we're nowhere close to where they're at.
We got enough problems for sure. Any thoughts about them playing in the Cotton Bowl?
I've already mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got all the breaks, and I know it's not their field. They're 2-3 hours away from Dallas, but it's in Texas. And I'm telling you, that makes a difference. It makes a difference. You are in Texas, and you got to think they're going to have more fans there than Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State travels well, and I'm sure they're going to be there, but there's going to be more fans there for Texas. I mean, anytime OU's had to go play a Florida team in the Orange Bowl, that's an advantage for the Florida team. Or they had to play LSU in New Orleans, give them a break. That's an advantage.
Yep.
And when USC was good and they played in the Rose Bowl every year, that's an advantage. So you bet it's an advantage for Texas.
No, it's an advantage for Texas, but I don't think it's going to be a huge factor in the game. I
don't think so either.
Because here's the deal. It's going to be, what's it hold? 85,000, let's say 80,000 just for simple math.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, 50 to 30.
50-30 at the worst.
At the worst. It's not. And listen, those Ohio State here in any game, if you get behind early and the opposing crowd gets loud, it gets hard. I just don't think. I just look at this and go, well, look, that's not an excuse for Ohio State.
No, I don't think so either. Well, okay, let's put it this way. If everybody thinks Ohio State is the dominant team, and they're the overwhelming favorites to win it, then it shouldn't matter where they're playing the game.
Well, and it's not their home field where they're walking out of their house to the game and it's 70-10. 70,000 to 10,000. Like that is a huge difference. Close. Both teams are traveling up there, and yeah, Texas is gonna have more people, but there's just no.
It won't be significant.
No, I don't think it's gonna be significant at all. No, and again, the championship caliber teams, that really doesn't bother them. So I think they'll be fine as far as that goes.
Remember when Ohio State came into Norman a few years ago, and that place was rocking.
Mm-hmm.
And they just beat the shit out of us because they were better.
And then
when you're better,
yep,
and you don't make mistakes and you play your game, you're going to win. I don't care where you play.
Yeah. And then the next year when OU went up to Ohio State and OU won at Ohio State because they were better, and that's just kind of how it is. The
way it works.
It's just not. It's not a situation where a lot of momentum is just going to go against them because of the crowd and the environment. It's just not going to happen like that. I don't think so. Is it somewhat of an advantage? Yeah, but I mean, is it? Should
it is in Texas?
It shouldn't sway your handicap too much. That's what I would tell you. Yeah.
No.
Yep. All right.
If you think Ohio State is legit, and they are who they are. Who they were the last 2 weeks. You bet Ohio State in this game.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're a little bit scared like us, you just say, let's give me the pro games and let me look at what they look like.
All right.
Me being the kind of better I am, I would rather take Penn State because of the line than I would this one. Or even if you think Notre Dame's going to win, all they got to cover is 1.5.
Right.
To me, that's an easier bet.
It's an easier bet, but I don't have a strong opinion. So
I don't either. That's why it's 1.5.
Right.
We don't have a strong opinion.
Well, sometimes there's a 1.5 that I do have a strong opinion. Like when Texas was favored twice against Georgia this year. Well, I had a strong opinion. Yeah, the lines were short. Who cares? I think Georgia's going to slaughter them, So sometimes you do. That Notre Dame Penn State, I just don't have enough good feel for either team.
Yeah. Well, I kind of get that point spread's just iffy for me.
Yeah.
I could see that being closer than that.
Yeah.
I don't think it should, but I could see it being that way. And all Penn State's got to do is win.
Yeah.
And I cash.
No, I get it. I totally understand where you're coming from. All right. Let's go to the NFL. You mentioned it. We got Saturday now as we go kind of in order here. Thursday, Friday, on to Saturday. And we kick it off with, I think, a very interesting matchup. The Chargers are on the road taking the Texans. It's the Chargers who are 3-point favorites in this one to kick off the NFL playoffs. All right. I said it was tough. What do you think?
Well, don't you think they should be favored? I do.
I immediately, when I saw the matchups and didn't see the point spread yet, I said, I'm picking the Chargers. So, yes.
Yeah, I was hoping the Texans were favored.
Me too.
And again, I think a lot of it has to do with Harbaugh. I think that's part of it. And the way the Chargers finished the season, they did. They fell to 8-6.
Yep.
And they were starting to look like the Chargers we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And they won the last 3 games, and they won them convincingly. The last game didn't mean anything, but just efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Beat the teams they should. And the Texans are not that good. I think they'll play a good game. I think this will be a good game. The Texans are dangerous at home, but I like the Chargers and the 3. I think if they win, they'll cover that. So I'm going to go with the Chargers too. I think they're a pretty good ball club. I really did. Now, let's see. Are they the 5?
Texans are the 4. Chargers are the 5.
Yeah. Right. So if the other games go the way they're supposed to, this will be who gets the good fortune to play the Chiefs in the next round. And I guarantee you the Chiefs are rooting for the Texans.
I would think so as well. By the way, there's probably, how many? Probably maybe 5 or 6 elite coaches. And this guy's one of them. I mean, Harbaugh, this is incredible. We sat here on this show and just made fun of the Chargers and laughed at the Chargers. And then they hired him and we said, they'll be in the playoffs. And then you look and it's like, They got rid of all those guys that were really good, and
Mhm.
here they are.
Yeah,
Incredible
and
coaching job.
they won 11 games.
I was talking about this last night. With him and with Sean Payton, because I think Sean Payton has done an unbelievable
He's
job.
really good too. Yeah.
Here's the key in the NFL: beat the bad teams.
You have to win those games.
Yes, and the Chargers and the Broncos constantly lost those games until they got these two coaches. If
That's
you
right.
beat the bad teams, you can do this. And
You
now
have
they get in a situation where you got a Texans team that was supposed to be pretty good and they're just not, and they can win a playoff game. I mean, I think
Mhm.
they're going to do it. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, it's really a remarkable turnaround. What
Yep.
he's done is just they're very simple. They're very fundamental. They don't make mistakes
Mhm.
like they did. Their defense is really solid, and they just do what they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And they play the same every week.
Mhm.
They're not up and down, and they're not a great team, but I think they'll win this game, and I will give them a chance against the Chiefs.
Yep. All right, Steelers and the Ravens next. Now, this one looks lopsided. The Ravens are -9.5 here. My only pause, and I'm not going to bet the game because I do not trust the Ravens at all,
Right.
especially against the Steelers. But this Steelers team, they're garbage.
They are. And they're what if they lost 4 in a row?
Mm-hmm.
First team in history, I think, to come into the playoffs that's lost 4 games in a row. I believe I heard somebody say that.
Wow.
Everybody's on Mike Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
Get off Mike Tomlin. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't even be in the playoffs.
This
He
is like
got
the
it.
4th year in a row. Everybody said that they may be the worst team in the league, and
I know.
they have a winning record. Yeah.
Okay, who's their quarterback? He's trash.
Yeah, it's awful.
He got ran out of Denver.
Yeah.
How they won 10 games, I have no freaking idea.
I think because he was hurt and they played Josh Fields to start the
Well,
season.
it could be. I don't know. Everybody knew the back end of their schedule was going to catch them because they had played no division games. Now, what kind of scheduling is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
And the division they're in has 2 pretty darn good teams in Baltimore and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually have 3. And the thing is, they lost to Cleveland during that time too.
Sure did.
And you got to question. Cincinnati should be in this instead of Steelers. They're better. Cincinnati is good.
You talk about a terrible coach team.
Oh,
Cincinnati.
They lost the playoffs in the I was looking at their schedule. Second week of the season, they lost to the Patriots, and they had them beat.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time we were thinking, they're done already.
Every year, they're never ready to play when the season starts.
No.
I mean, they have so much talent there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. This should be a slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens should kill them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Steelers are trending in the opposite direction. I just don't see them being able to come up with enough offense to win. The Ravens are down the stretch have played pretty well. They've taken care of business. This may be a different team. Lamar has been unbelievable. Henry has given them something that they really need.
Yep.
What a season he's had. That 9.5 should be higher than that, in my opinion.
Yep.
But I'm like you. I don't know if I got the guts to bet it. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win easy. But
I agree. If you want to make a bet, I do think Baltimore's the side. I'm not doing it because here's the deal. I always look at it and go, okay, it's Saturday night. I'm watching this game. Do I want to be rooting for the Steelers to pretty much have to do like a backdoor cover or just hope the Baltimore plays horrible? I don't really want to do that. Do I really want to lay points with the Ravens against the Steelers in the playoffs? Not really.
I know.
So I'll just watch it. You know, if Baltimore doesn't win, forget about the spread. If they don't win, I mean, that's just a disaster.
It is. Yeah. They're going to have to help the Steelers.
They should win. They should cover. They should beat
them 24-3.
Yes, if not worse. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Sunday. Let's go to the Broncos and the Bills. That'll be up next here. The Bills are 8.5-point favorites. I said a little bit earlier, what a job by Sean Payton to get the Broncos to the playoffs. Let's not forget, they nearly made the playoffs last year. A little bit of a 2-game collapse in the year they would have made it. This year they make it. But this is not a great team. We know that. The Broncos are very average. The Bills, I think this has been their best season so far.
Yeah.
I really liked the Bills this year. Best season under like the new regime since Josh Allen got there, we'll say. So 8.5-point favorites here for Buffalo. Who you got?
Now, this is going to be the stupidest thing I've ever said.
Okay.
And that's going somewhere. I'm more comfortable betting the Ravens at 9.5 than I am the Bills.
Wow. See, I'm all over the Bills here.
I don't like the Bills defensively.
Okay.
It's all going to depend on does Bo Nix play well? Does he play well?
Mm-hmm.
I'm high on him. I think he's going to be a great player. When they get some more pieces around him, which they will in the offseason, get some big-time receivers, maybe a big-time running back, I think he's got everything it takes. I'm not going to bet Denver minus or plus 8.5, but again, because the Bills should win, and they should win fairly easy.
Mm-hmm.
I just have seen the Bills sometimes in the playoffs not play real well, and I could see them struggling a little bit in this one. Denver's they're legit 10-7. They've won some games they had to.
Mm-hmm.
They did kind of what they had to do. They didn't have a real hard schedule. What they do, they won games they had to win to get to this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Chiefs didn't even show up. They shouldn't have even went to the game, but man, they manhandled them.
Yeah, meaningless, but
yeah, totally meaningless. And I don't mean why the Chiefs bothered to get on the plane with the effort they put in.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they didn't play anybody. So I think this will be a little closer than we think. Buffalo's going to win, and you're all over them, and I can see why. And it may be one of these things where Denver's not quite ready to play this type of team in the playoffs.
I just looked at when Denver played a decent team this year that they didn't go all that well, so
you beat the Chiefs.
Well, yeah, a lot of teams should have beat the Chiefs during that run, I don't look, I think they've done a great job. I think they've overachieved incredibly in Denver. Yep. I think it's a nice, this team, people thought they were winning like 4 games this year. They're awful. They're terrible. How could they're 10-7. So they deserve a ton of credit, but the Bills are going to slaughter them. That's where I'm at with this one. I don't think this will
slaughter them and all will be forgotten in Denver, right?
I don't think all will be forgotten, but I think if you're a Denver fan and you're expecting to win this game, you need to pause a little bit because this team's a lot better and a lot more explosive than Denver. So yeah, I'm laying it with Buffalo in this game. All right, let's keep going here. The Eagles and the Packers are next. It's Philadelphia that's a 4.5-point favorite. The problem with this game is we've got a lot of questionable injury situations. I mean, Jalen Hurts is questionable. A.J. Brown questionable. We've got Jordan Love that's questionable. We know Watson is out for the Packers. That's the one we know for sure. I kind of think that's why this line's kind of hanging here at 4.5. I don't think people really know what to do until we get further down the road here.
Well, I think if Hurts is cleared, and as of this morning, he hasn't been. No, that was yesterday, I think. I haven't heard today. He's been on this protocol for what now? This is going on the 3rd week, I think.
Yes.
We know how tough he is, so it's not him.
If you believe he's going to play, which I do.
I do too.
Bet this right now because Absolutely. I think when he is announced to play, it's going to be like 6.5, not 4.
Well, maybe even 7.
Yeah.
The way the Packers are stumbling coming into this too.
Yeah.
They need their butts kicked.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they had won, they would have not been playing the Eagles. Is that right? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, but the problem is, like, Love got hurt, so they were trying to win, but they
They
had
were
to have a
trying,
backup
but they
quarterback.
shouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
Yeah.
They were playing the Bears.
I know. I know.
And they lost the week before. I think it was at home to the Vikings.
Mhm.
So they deserve where they're at.
Mhm.
And yeah, if Love can't play, that line will go up as well. So you're right. If you hit the nail on the head, I was going to say the same thing. Go bet Philadelphia right now, because if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, I will be shocked.
Yeah, I think the only thing is it's with the concussions, it's not really his decision.
Not his call.
Yeah. So but the other side of it is, and Dennis just brought it up, I'm not sure Love's going to play either. So
No.
then if it's two backups, it kind of equals itself back out again. I think Philadelphia is a much better team.
Oh,
so
I do
I'm
too.
all over Philadelphia
I
here.
am too.
And
Now, if those two
I've already bet.
quarterbacks don't play, would you take the under?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think Philadelphia is better equipped to win the game without
do too.
Hurts than
Yeah,
the other thing. The Love, even if Love plays, Watson is out, and that is a big time target.
It is.
And
the best player on the field's Barkley.
Exactly. Yeah, they're built. The Eagles are built to win. If the backup has to play a little bit better than Green Bay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the backup for the Eagles is Pickett, right?
Yep.
Who's the Packers?
Malik Willis.
I'm going with Pickett
Right.
on that. Plus, you got Barkley.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Eagles are better. They just are better. So now, if Brown can't play, that hurts a little bit as well. If Hurts doesn't play.
Yeah.
And the thing about it that worries me a little bit about Hurts, he's obviously still having some troubles. Or they would have announced it. Why wouldn't they?
Right.
So he hasn't cleared it yet. I don't think. And he hasn't practiced. So even if he does play, how smooth is he going to be? Is he going to be a little rusty?
Yeah.
I'm still taking the Eagles.
Yep, I'm with you on the Eagles. I do think the injury situation can throw it off a little bit, but yeah, I'm taking the Eagles as well. All right, now our game here. Talk about Tampa. We're big Tampa people. Well, we're big Baker Mayfield people.
Yeah.
Tampa,
though.
Yeah, Tampa -3 here. They were able to get the job done barely. That was painful. Watch that game last week to try to clinch against the Saints, but they do get the win. Now they're 3-point favorites at home here against the Commanders. This is a scary game, I think. I think this is a bad matchup for Tampa. What about you?
Yeah, I do too.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I would rather play Green Bay, I think, than the Commanders.
Yes.
They are at home. That game Sunday, Mayfield won that game for them. Yep. It's that simple.
Yep.
They tried to choke. Their defense was terrible in that game. Rattler played great, I thought. He played pretty well. He did some things.
Yeah.
And New Orleans played very, very well. They played hard. Of course, they hate the Bucs.
Yeah.
You got to give them credit for going in there and playing like they did.
Yeah.
Mayfield was incredible. How can Baker Mayfield not be in the Pro Bowl? What is going on?
I don't know.
I guess so. When you get to Pro Bowl, you got to count everybody in the league, right? So, like, he'll end up being in it because I guess Goff's probably in one of those guys that's in the Pro Bowl will be in the Super Bowl more than likely.
Right. Yeah.
So he'll probably still. Not that it matters. Who cares? But
doesn't matter. No.
But he's been incredible. And how about that last play? Risky. I mean, that was risky.
Yeah.
To throw that ball to Evans so he could get a $3 million bonus, which I'm sure management may not have been too happy with.
Right. Yeah.
If I was the coach, I would have got on the phone to the owner and said, "Look, why don't you go ahead and pay him? He's at 5,000 or he's 5 yards short. He missed like 3 games
Yeah.
before because we're going to risk the playoffs because we're going to throw the ball to that son of a bitch and let him get his 5 yards." So
Well,
what did you just say?
Because it wasn't just the bonus. He also has that was like his 11th 1,000-yard
Oh,
receiving
that's right.
season.
That equaled Jerry Rice. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had to, I mean, that was the other big part of that too. Yeah.
I just think it was good. Well, it was Brady that was announcing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they came out and he got under center, Brady goes, they're going to throw the ball to heavens. He knew immediately what they were going to do.
Yep.
And I said, no, you can't. You got the game won. What if it bounces up in the air off of him or something, or Baker throws it over his head and they intercept it?
Yep.
Of course, they had an 8-point lead. It makes a difference if you had 8 compared to 7. But it was still risky. It was really cool, though.
Yeah.
The way they did it.
Yep.
Back to the game. I'm taking Tampa.
I'm going to take Washington. I just feel like I've watched Tampa, that defense, too much this year. I don't think they'll be able to stop the Commanders.
You don't think there's some magic there?
No, it's okay. So this is the battle, in my opinion. It's the inexperience of the Commanders versus the vast experience. I'm talking playoff experience of Tampa. I think that's the advantage Tampa has.
They do.
They know how to win in the playoffs. They understand what this is. You ramp it up, and maybe the Commanders are a little slow to do that. Tampa gets out ahead, and they can hold on. What I'm going to tell you guys, and I've watched every game Tampa's played this year, it is a trash defensive team. They are horrific on defense. This Commanders team with Daniels at the helm they're tough to stop, and he's tough to stop specifically. That's the worry for me. And you know what? Rob may hit it on the head. I could see that being the score, 30-27. Now, I could see it being flipped, and Tampa wins 30-27. But I'm taking the 3 points with the Commanders. I think it's an up and down game. If I had any hope or any confidence, I should say, in the defense for Tampa, I would pick Tampa. But I've seen worse teams like the Saints and Spencer Rattler move the ball all over the field on them, and they look helpless.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen Atlanta, led by Kirk Cousins, go up and down the field on this team.
They scored 30 on them both games, I think.
Commanders defense not very good either. They're better than Tampa's, I promise you. This is the worst defense in the playoff, no doubt.
I think this is going to be a great game, though.
I do too, and I could see a game where maybe last team gets the ball wins, or who wins the coin flip in overtime, or something that it's like it's 30-27, it's 37-34. I just want Washington in the points, because if it comes down to who needs a stop right now, I think Washington will get it.
Yeah.
And I don't think Tampa will get it.
Is it time? Okay. This is something we might just, everybody's bitching about the way the college football playoffs were seeded.
Yeah.
Why aren't we bitching about the way the pros are seeded as well?
Yeah, no.
The NFL never does anything wrong. Do you ever notice that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad system.
I mean, there's been years when a division champion has been sub 500.
Well, and let's look at the 2 games they're on the screen right now. Tampa has a home game. They're 2 games worse than Washington.
Yes.
The Rams have a home game. They're 4 games worse than the Vikings.
This is a crime on this next one.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But I don't understand why everybody rips on college football, but the NFL is bulletproof. Nobody says anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you won your division. Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you played in a shitty division. Look at the division that Houston's in. My God. That division is terrible.
Yeah.
Tampa.
Yep.
And the West, NFC West wasn't any good.
No. And again, hey, you win your division, you get the automatic berth. That's great, but be the 7th seed if you're, 9-8,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
And
Dennis is right. Like, you're watching that game last week. The winner gets the 1, the loser gets the 5. It's
and they're 14-2.
Yeah. Crazy.
If you go down through the since they expanded to 17 games in a season, which is ridiculous,
Mhm.
but since they've done that, I'll bet you they are the first 14. Well, they are
Mhm.
first team with 14 wins that don't finish in the top 4 and get a home
Right.
game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Crazy.
hard to win 14 games in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Well,
I will say the reseeding in the second round, I like that.
I
a
do
lot.
too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah. But
Definitely. That's what they should do.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Well, let's move on to this last
Okay.
one. The Rams and the Vikings here. The Vikings are just a 1-point favorite. I am shocked. And
Me
if I'm
too.
shocked by the line, it tells you I'm taking Minnesota.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Did you not think like okay, the final score of that game got out of hand,
It
right?
did.
Now, give a ton of credit to the Lions. I thought they played
definitely.
great.
They did.
That's a closer game than the score.
Oh, yeah.
And now you get to go take on the Rams, my Rams, who are garbage.
They're the boringest team in the league.
They're horrific.
They're so
the
boring.
Vikings don't go down there. And here's the other thing. Oh, yes, it's at LA. The Vikings are going to have 30, 40,000 people at this game.
They may have 50.
They may. I think the Vikings will kill the Rams and end the season for my Rams.
Okay, I do too. But did you see? I'm trying not to say this, but I thought Darnold didn't play very well in that game.
Darnold missed a couple of throws that could have put that in definite jeopardy. Yes.
And we've been waiting all year.
Yes. It was it a situation where he finally felt a little pressure to do it, and that team he was playing was just a little bit better than some of those teams he's been playing. It rushed him.
To me, the key was they couldn't score a touchdown.
Oh, they got short fields, and they went for it at times and didn't get it, or they had to kick field goals. If you make a few of those into touchdowns, they may have won the game.
Yeah, that was the key when they had to kick 3 field goals.
Mm-hmm.
And they were inside the 5, I think, all 3 times. And you got to give the Lions credit defensively. Hey, they're good.
Yeah.
The Lions are good.
They're very good.
They are solid. One of my best friends is a huge Lions fan, and he loves the coach. And of course, he follows them like we follow OU. He reads everything, watches everything he can find.
Yeah.
And he thinks they're so in tune with the coach.
Yeah.
And I think they are too.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. If the Vikings show up and if Darnold plays well, I think they handle them pretty easily.
Yeah, there's no way I can back the Rams. And that's from a guy who's watched the freaking Rams, unfortunately, all year trying to cash on some of these future wagers. They're not any good. I don't know how they won. Well, I do know how they won the division. The Niners just sucked this year. They had a lot of injuries, and they got out of sync.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are the Cardinals, and the Seahawks they're just not that good.
They're just very, very average.
Yeah.
The Seahawks. But the fact that the Niners weren't any good is how the Rams won the division.
Oh, absolutely. The Niners
got hurt, and they just couldn't overcome it.
And the Niners opened the door for them, and they begrudgingly, they did go through the door. It took a long time, and they tripped when they felt like when they got through the door, but they're there. And
they did win some games they had to.
They did, but against shit teams, and they were pathetically just the worst possible football games you could think of. They would go play and they would barely win. I mean, listen, Minnesota, if you don't beat them, it's a bad season. To put all of them aside, it's a bad season if you don't go beat them. So, I'll save my thoughts for the Lions for next week when they play. I've got a theory on what's going to happen to the Lions.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. But I'm saving it.
So I'm assuming out of the NFC, you're thinking Eagles.
I'm thinking Lions, but I'm worried about one little thing. I think it's Lions or Eagles for me.
Okay.
And it's Bills or Chiefs on the other side.
I'm still not ruling the Ravens out,
I can't do it.
but I don't think they can go to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. I think they might beat Buffalo, but I don't think they can beat the Chiefs. I don't think anybody can beat the Chiefs.
And
I think we're all just kidding ourselves. The Chiefs.
probably. I remember last year sitting there thinking, yeah, maybe they won't do it. And then every time the lines came out, I was like, yeah, I'll take the Chiefs. Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs. Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs. Because it's like, oh, he's an underdog against Lamar. That's funny. Oh, they're an underdog against Josh Allen. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, Brock Purdy's favored over the Chiefs. That's hilarious. Like, I mean, and that's the thing. And I know when the matchups get there on paper, I'm going to have the same thoughts. Why would I have a different thought?
Well, true. The only thing is, it is so damn hard to win 3 in a row.
Oh,
100%.
100%.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And you got to have everything go your way. And a lot of stuff's went their way already. But they got Hollywood Brown now. he makes a big difference. A huge difference.
Take a break. When a cat wants petted, you got to pet her. No matter what.
Yeah, you got to take a break. Especially with that cat.
Right now. Come here. Okay, so we're both on Minnesota here in this one.
Definitely.
We'll see what happens. I guess final thought on the NFL. That I do kind of agree, and Ron's kind of alluding to it too. It's a 3 in a row thing with the Chiefs, and law of averages. Maybe they get in a close game and they finally don't win it. I mean, you cannot win every close game.
You cannot.
So
you can't make that field goal every time. You got to make it.
Or the other team miss it every time they need to miss
every
it.
Time.
I mean, that's the other thing.
I know. And it's just that's just it. It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
Well, it's never been done.
No. And it hadn't never been done for a reason. There's been many a great players and teams. They haven't been able
It's
to do
almost impossible to win 3 in a row in anything, any sport.
Yep. But
very rare that happens. By the way, before we get off it, Monday night, what a football game. North Dakota State, Montana State.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you watched it. That's the best playoff game I've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
I just love to watch those teams play. They get after it.
It was a really good game, back and forth. It looked like North Dakota State was going to dominate there for a minute, and then Montana State got going. That was a hell of a game.
It was. I mean, you're not 15-0 for nothing. And, man, they came storming back. What, 21-3? They came storming back. And it was 21-3 at the half.
Yep.
And I bet Montana State's coach would like to have that back where they went for 4th and 2 when they were going to get the ball back first to start the second half. I bet he'd like to have that over. They didn't make it. And they gave the ball back to North Dakota State, and they went down and scored.
Yep.
But, again, North Dakota State, let me give you a little piece of advice. Don't go D1. You're so stupid if you do. Stay where you're at and keep winning national championships. You're going to have a hell of a lot more fun.
Well, the only pushback I'll give to you there is they used to be Division II, and they may have had those thoughts way back when they were Division II going to this league, and they won here, So
ain't happening. They can't get the players.
Well,
unless they got some wealthy North Dakotans up there that's going to donate a bunch of money into the NIL. And I don't
honestly and truly, I feel like what you just said, and now that you do openly have to pay the players, that really does hurt a North Dakota State unless they do have that. And you wouldn't think they do.
I don't think everybody in North Dakota could pull together their money and be able to have enough to compete with Texas and everybody. Yeah. There's not that many people that live in North Dakota. So, but man, and you got that whole thing up there. You got North Dakota, you got South Dakota State, you got Montana State.
Yep.
They I don't know how they do it, but they recruit to what their style is, and man, they are so good at it.
What if
that quarterback from Montana State was good?
I've got an idea. What if all 4 of those schools combine?
Oh, that'd be
and make a super college,
yeah.
and then that team goes Division I. You get
maybe.
all the resources combined. You
Yeah.
build a big stadium right in the middle.
Yeah. Well, there's several Division One players come out of those schools. Or not division NFL players.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can golf from there?
No, I think he's California. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah. Josh,
Wentz was.
or not Josh Allen. Oh God, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, Wentz. Yeah.
And well, Trey Lance, but that not a great
That's the
example.
other one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The South Dakota State's had some players come out of there. So
yeah,
there's some it's good football. It's fun to watch. I was looking forward to that all day, and it did not let us down.
no, it was very good, very good.
Yep.
Okay, I said we got something fun to talk about.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so I have approached hockey betting this year different than I have in the past, and it's been going well. So I wanted to go over this with you.
Good. I need to know.
I picked out 4 teams before the season ever started.
Okay.
4 teams before they even played one game. And I said, I'm betting these 4 teams every time they play, unless they're just way too heavy of a favorite. Like if they're minus 200 or more, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to bet them when it logically makes sense from a betting standpoint to bet them. I'm not going to handicap this shit. Okay. These are the 4 teams I really like. I'm betting them.
Let me guess.
Okay, guess them first. Yeah, guess.
I'm going Vegas.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to go Florida.
Correct.
Okay, those were the 2 givens that I think you would have been at the most.
Mm-hmm.
This was before the season started.
Yes.
Well, I think you might have taken Toronto.
Toronto's number 3, correct?
Just simply because of Berube, the coach.
We'll talk about it.
I got 3 of them. I'm really proud of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw in, okay, give me a hint. Is it in the West or the East?
West.
Edmonton.
Nope. And I'll explain why.
Dallas.
Nope.
Okay, who was it? Colorado.
The Blues.
Oh, because you're going to bet against them.
Nope.
Okay. Well,
because
please explain that one.
I researched, and I'll tell you, I got another thing I'll get to in a second. Most profitable betting teams from last year.
Oh, okay.
The Blues were way up there. They were one of the top 3 or 4. Here's why. They're the underdogs, and they win when they're the underdogs lot.
They do.
So, and then I look back at the year before. In the last half of the season, they were the most profitable team in 2023-24. So it's like, I'm going to take them. I'm going to do that. It's worked out, believe it or not, because you know what they're doing? They're winning when they're the underdogs again.
Yeah.
So
the thing with Vegas, though, I've noticed, you can't bet them a lot.
No, you can. You have to.
They're heavy favorites a lot of times.
Like last night, you couldn't bet them because they're minus 250. But you have to bet them when they're minus 150 a lot. They're not underdogs a lot, but they're bettable more than you would think. Toronto's been great. They're bettable almost every night.
Yeah, because they're playing. They're never heavy favorites. Hardly.
They're never heavy favorites. Toronto
either. Florida is they play teams that are really good a lot.
It is odd. The Florida Panthers are not heavy favorites that much.
No, I don't get that.
Yeah. And then the Blues are never they're usually underdogs, so that's good.
Oh, very seldom are they favored.
So the top 5 betting teams, if you bet them every night, top 5, who do you think they are?
If you bet them every night, does that mean you got to throw out Vegas?
No, you bet them every night. Who has the best return on investment right now? Who's making the most money?
Those 3 we just Vegas.
So Vegas is number 1. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So that was a really big time pick for me for Vegas. They're number 1. Yeah.
That's almost impossible.
It's not.
I don't know.
Minnesota is number 2.
Really?
That's a team I never considered.
I can't get them right.
No, I never considered to play them preseason. The Washington Capitals are number 3.
Well, this year, yes.
And that is a team I never considered.
No, I never thought they'd be this good.
No. Winnipeg Jets, I thought about them. They're number
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
And then at number 5, the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, they've upset some people.
Exactly. Okay. Number 6, Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, their record's not awful.
And they've won as an underdog a lot. Number
What about
7,
Seattle?
huh?
What about Seattle?
I'm going to read them here. Number 7, Toronto.
Okay.
Number 8, Los Angeles Kings.
Okay.
Number 9, Dallas Stars. Number 10, Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yep.
Number 11, St. Louis Blues. 12, Calgary Flames, if I could talk. 13, Colorado Avalanche. Those are the 13 that are profitable right now, as of today, if you've played them every single night that they played.
Yeah.
So why it's going well, I have Vegas, I have Toronto, I have the Blues.
Yep.
Now the Panthers are the next team. They are negative right now, just by a tiny little bit.
Mhm.
Now you mentioned Seattle. They are not. They're down 7.55 units for the season.
I'll be darned. Because they've won some games.
I think recently they've dropped down. They were more towards the middle the last time I looked at them.
Nashville's got to be on the bottom.
How the Bruins? How about the Bison? You said somebody asked about the Bruins somewhere. I thought maybe not. The worst team is Nashville.
Yeah, that's what I said. They had to be on the bottom.
Yep. So the Nashville, the Islanders are second worst. Rangers are third worst.
Oh, they've been awful. Yeah.
Yep. And you think they were pretty decent, like
Yeah.
as far as they respected, going into the season.
Yeah.
The Sabres, fourth worst, and the Bruins are the fifth worst team.
The Penguins got to be down there too, don't they?
Well, but you think about the Bruins, they're 20 and 23. We're overtime losses are losses for in the gambling world. So they're 20 and 23. That's not terrible, but they're favored a lot. They were highly thought of, and they've been disappointing. Who did you mention?
Tampa Bay's another one that's favored a lot.
Tampa Bay, 21 and 17, but they're minus almost 3 units.
Yeah, they're favored a lot.
Look, and you mentioned, did you take Edmonton? Edmonton's favored every night.
Yeah, they are.
Edmonton is 25 and 15,
which is good.
It's extremely good.
Yeah.
Minus 2.5 units.
Yeah, because they're favored every night.
Yeah, that's like you can't. That's like the Dodgers in Major League Baseball. It's the same thing. You can't bet them very much because they're not gonna long term. They're not gonna turn a profit. And that's the way. That's Edmonton. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
When I picked my teams, I tried to be, because we know that we follow it every day. Try to be like Carolina Hurricanes, 24 and 17 minus 490.
Yeah.
They're favored. And I don't know why the market loves Carolina so much, but they do. But anyway.
Yeah. No. Well, you get in that East and you've got so many really good teams that are even. You got Washington, you got Carolina, you got Florida, you got Toronto, and they play each other a lot. And that's very interesting.
Just a couple of comments. The Jets, we mentioned the Jets. They're fourth on the list, plus 8.8 units. That's very good. Dennis mentions the Sharks. The Sharks are a little better this year. They're not losing every single night like they did last year. They're minus 4.6 units. That's not awful. It puts them about 20th. They don't have that, 18th or 20th, probably right around in there.
Yeah, because they have upset some people.
Yeah. Dallas is ahead. Yeah. So Curtis Manless said, I used to fall in love with the 75-win MLB teams using the strategy Aaron is talking about. That's kind of what made me look into hockey this way. The second half of the MLB. So what I was doing with MLB last year, I was a game early all the time. Like a series would start. I'd play a team at like plus 130. They
Yeah.
would lose. I wouldn't play them the next night at plus 150. They would win, and then
Yeah.
they would win the third game. And I would be like, what? So
I know.
finally I said, forget it.
Yep.
I'm picking 4 teams out. I'm playing their asses every night, and I started to turn a profit. So I thought, well, let's try this with hockey, and it's worked so far. Now, I could have picked Nashville and Boston, and I could have picked the wrong teams, and you'd be in trouble. But
Yeah.
thankfully, so far there's still a lot of season
Well,
left, half the season. So
the thing with hockey and baseball, you don't have to worry about the point spread.
No, and that's why I like betting those two sports.
Because you look at the NBA right now. You can't bet the Thunder.
No,
You can't bet the Cavaliers. You can sometimes, but most of the time, the Cavaliers, Boston, the Thunder, 10, 12-point favorites.
mm-hmm.
That's too risky. It just is, unless they're playing somebody just doggy, and then they don't play half their players that night.
Yep.
And that's the other thing that makes the NBA. You never know who's going to play.
Yep.
It's just anytime I see a point spread that I really like, the first thing I do is I go see who's playing, and invariably the best player is not going to play that night.
Yeah, I know.
And you just have to throw it away.
Yep. I
Like
know.
Luka doesn't play half the time for Dallas. He's hurt something's wrong with him all the time.
Well, wasn't Jokic out last night or something? I thought
I don't know.
Somebody say that.
I wanted to pick Denver. I'm glad I didn't. But
I don't. Did they get beat?
Yeah.
I don't follow it at all. So
well, if Jokic didn't play, obviously they were going to get beat. And
yeah,
with Curry, every night questionable. Every freaking night, Steph Curry is questionable.
Yeah.
How can that be?
I don't know.
Jimmy Butler, of course, he's caused all kind of chaos at Miami. Hurt every game. Questionable. Jimmy Butler's questionable tonight. Really? Well, he's questionable every night.
Yeah.
It says or LeBron or Anthony Davis.
I think it's because when they don't play, they could say, well, they were questionable,
Well, yeah, but it's so hard to bet it because you just don't know. So how about go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, I was going to say there's 13 teams above the line of profitability in the NHL.
32
out of 32. Yeah. Only, and this is different from 2023. I think there were like 11 or 12 baseball teams that finished profitable. Only 8 last year in baseball. But when you think about it, there was a dominant team with the Dodgers. The rest of those teams kind of, I don't know, they finished together. Only 8. So I'll read them off now. San Diego, Milwaukee, New York Mets, the Guardians, the Diamondbacks, Detroit Tigers, Kansas City Royals, believe it or not, Chicago Cubs. Those were the 8 teams.
Now, where do you find this?
It's a site called EV Analytics that keeps track of all this.
College basketball on there?
Yes, let's look it up. What do you want to know? Like money line or spread?
Well, spread. You hardly ever bet the money line in college. Sometimes, not very often, but sometimes.
Spread. It takes a minute to load here. So,
college I always do pretty well on, but then I get in some slumps. But how about the SEC in basketball? I know you probably haven't gotten into it yet, but
yeah, crazy. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good.
The best team against the spread in college basketball. Do you have any guess who it is?
No, but it's probably some rinky-dink. St. Bonaventure.
You got? How did you?
That's because I read that this morning. I saw that this morning.
Yes, they're number 1. They are number 1. Number 2.
I bet them tonight. You watch. They won't come through tonight. They're underdogs on the road tonight. Number 2?
Yeah. Number 2. Yeah.
I got to have a hint. There's only 300 of them. That rinky dink.
Yeah, it's small.
You wouldn't know what conference, I'm sure.
No, not a clue. I've heard of them though.
You have?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
They're in the tournament a lot.
I don't know.
Farley
College-
Dickinson.
No, I would have never guessed them. They're
Uh,
terrible.
Are they?
Yes.
They're 11-2 against the spread.
Well, it's against the spread.
Yeah. Houston Christian is number 3.
Well, okay.
San Jose State, number 4.
Really?
Yes. Illinois State, number 5.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
And Illinois State's decent, but those other teams they're not very good.
Not very good.
No.
Somebody mentioned Duke. They are profitable.
Yeah.
Duke is profitable.
Yeah.
I would think Oklahoma would be up here.
Well, so many of those games, the point spreads have been so.
Oh, that's right. They played a lot of yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why probably the good teams are not on there yet, because they played so many cupcakes.
Yeah.
That you couldn't bet them.
Yeah.
A lot of times they played teams that weren't even aligned on.
Boy, there's a lot of these teams that are profitable so far, but I can't count how many.
Yeah. Well, there's like 300 and
I know.
I don't know how many damn teams there are. There's millions
Yeah.
of teams. They're just because there's so many that are D1 in basketball.
Yeah.
But the SEC is just brutal. It's just
UC San Diego. Yes, they are 10-3. They're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're 8th right now. Actually, I'm sorry. That would be tied for 1, 2, 6th as far as profitability. Yeah. Yeah. The worst team, Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
The second worst team, Minnesota.
Really?
Vermont, the third worst.
Now, Vermont is terrible this year. They're usually good.
Yeah.
So
Bryant, the fourth worst.
They're good too. They're not very good. So see, that's what's happened.
Yeah.
You bet them, and they're not what they usually. I mean, Vermont's always good.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Dennis has bet Grand Canyon twice. Hopefully, it was they're 2-12 against the spread.
Well,
so maybe you bet the 2 they won. I don't know.
Because that's the space between his ears.
The Grand Canyon, yeah. Oh man, no, I thought. Look, I look at this. I started for baseball. I looked at it because it's like, okay, I'm gonna do. This is a strategy that I'm doing for hockey, and it with the baseball, it's like it wasn't the greatest, but it was a profitable experience. So I said, all right, I'll try it for the NHL. It's been great, but again, we're halfway through. There's still a long way to go.
You do well with the NHL. I just don't. I get some parlays sometimes, but God, I got to sweat them out. I did pick the Red Wings last night because they were underdogs.
Yeah, good pick.
And they're playing good, but it took overtime. And they were behind the whole game in regulation. And I picked Dennis picking in, these teams you never heard of, and I do too. Friday night, I went with the Marist Red Foxes, and they came through. And rarely do I ever do two games in a row with these teams because you're going to kill yourself if you do.
Yeah.
I picked them again on Sunday, and they came through again. So they haven't played since. Marist, the Red Foxes.
The Red Foxes. I've watched them before. Believe it or not.
Well, I picked Iona a lot last year. They're not very good. Oh, here we go. Marist is our rival.
There you go.
Yeah,
Siena.
I've
watched Siena play before. I've bet Siena before.
Well, no, it was Quinnipiac. That's who I.
Oh well, yeah. You bet them 100 times last year.
Right.
I watched them all the time. Yeah, yeah.
And some of these gyms are so cool that these teams play in.
Yeah,
a lot of them are real old and they're small, and there might be 60 people there. So now most of them have pretty good crowds. But speaking of crowds, tonight. 13-1 Oklahoma is at home for their first SEC home game. against Texas A&M, which is like 13-2. So this morning on a radio station down there I was listening to, they were guessing how many people would be there tonight. And the highest total was 6,000.
Yeah. What's it? It holds about 10, doesn't it?
11.
11.
Mhm.
It'll be single digits,
And of course, here comes the excuses.
Right.
Well, the Thunder play Cleveland at 6:00, and that's a big game, and it's on TV. It's
Right.
not in Oklahoma City. It's in Cleveland. That's excuse number one. And the second excuse, well, it's at 8:00. It's awful hard to get home.
So, but when it's at 6:00, the excuse is it's too early, and
Yeah.
now it's at 8, and now it's too late.
It's too late.
The excuse is the people just don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
And they've already ditched them. They were 13-0. Of course, they went to Alabama and got slaughtered. And they're not 13-0.
Yeah.
But they're already done. They're done with them. That's it.
Yeah.
Same old thing. Same as
Yeah.
last year. Well, there's a lot of teams that are going to go to Alabama. They may not get beat that bad, but
Do you think A&M will soundly defeat us tonight? I do.
probably. I think they'll beat us. Yes.
Yeah.
This is a game, though. I think Oklahoma's got. They have to win. I mean, you gotta think. All right, they have 13 wins. They have one really good win. Well, two. They beat Louisville, and Louisville's good, and they beat Michigan. Michigan's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think they have 13. If they can win 6 more, you got to think they're in, with the SEC being what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now they'd be like 6-12 in the conference, so that might. You'd think if they can get to 20, they're in,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you?
I would think so. Yeah.
So you got 9 home games, 9 road games. Where in the world are you going to win on the road? I mean, I was thinking they might win in Georgia. Well, Georgia beat the shit out of Kentucky last night. You would think they might beat Vanderbilt. Well, they're like 13-2.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know where they're going to win on the road.
every game in the SEC is going to just be that people were telling how scary the SEC is in football, and I was like, yeah, that wasn't much, but this is a slate. They're all good.
Every one of them. You look at the wins and losses of teams, and the SEC, almost every team's at the top. I mean,
yeah.
It's just
the Alabama game was just like we went down there, and it's like, oh, they have no chance. Like they're so much better than we are. Yeah.
Well, I was watching Auburn at Texas last night. I mean, Auburn is really good.
Yep.
And they're poorly coached, and they pissed away and almost lost the game.
Yeah.
But they were 20 ahead of Texas and Austin and killing them. And then they kind of frittered away. They got to doing stupid stuff, and it ended up fair. It was not as close as the final scores indicated, but still, they made Texas look like not very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And number 1 Tennessee went into Florida last night and got beat by 30.
I know.
and Tennessee had played some teams, and it's tough. I don't think OU will win 4 games in the conference. I really don't.
No, probably not. I think this is a big game for Oklahoma tonight. They need to get it, and Arkansas, big game for them tonight too. They play back to back. Arkansas's at 6, OU's at 8.
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Got Ole Miss.
Yeah, playing Ole Miss, and like I said, when you're at home, you've got to win it. You've got to win those games.
If you're good, you do.
Mm-hmm. So.
And I mean, it's tough. We got night in and night out. It wears on you. And it's the Big 12's always been so good. And you thought, well, we'll get a break. We're going to the SEC. Well, it's a lot better.
It's crazy
than the Big 12.
Absolutely crazy. Yep. Absolutely crazy.
It's crazy. It's tough to win. I don't care where you are.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. We'll cover that a lot more as we get going here, once we get into February and obviously March. That's
Yeah.
going to be something that we'll have to cover because that's all we're going to have. So
Yeah,
we'll
the
definitely do it.
fun part is about over.
Yes.
We've
Yeah.
got some good pro games, and college will have one left. And,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of people think the championship games, Ohio State and Texas.
Yeah, a lot of people are thinking that. We'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens. That should be a good game. We should have a really good week. Starting tomorrow, we should have a
That's
really
right.
good week.
Playoff football 5 nights in a row.
That's right. Going to be great. All right. We're going to get out of here for today. Thanks, Ray, for joining us on a special day here. Like I said, we tried to jump up and do a show the day before all of it gets going. So it's been a fun one. It's been a good one. We'll be back next week talking national championship game and playoff second round. So we'll see what happens with all of that. So, all right. Any final thoughts, I guess?
No, let's enjoy the games.
Okay. Sounds good. All right,
Yep.
guys. We will see you right back here next week. Everybody have a good rest of your week.
This is due to Bet Sports.